Apparently there's a book out there called Kinsey Crimes and Consequences, where Kinsey was openly discussing trying to get Crowley's diaries.
No, I'm not aware of that. Alfred Kinsey, of course, is one of the first and most popular, what they call sexologists, and he did a lot of research on sexuality, but he was a very perverted man. He interviewed a lot of pedophiles. He would encourage his graduate students to have group sex. He himself was reported to be bisexual. He would secretly videotape orgies in his own house for research purposes, of course, so he claimed. And he is sort of the foundation for understanding modern sexuality, which is strange because he had such a perverted view of it. So it doesn't surprise me that he was interested in Aleister Crowley. Crowley himself, a very, very strange and perverted individual, very sexually immoral. And again, I don't mean to place a judgment on this man, but he had sexual diseases. He had sex with prostitutes. He was a drug addict. And so if you're going to look at Aleister Crowley as this New Age guru, I think that he is an utter failure in that stance, because the Enlightenment teachings is supposed to make you a better person, make you understand your place in this universe and as a human, and connect you with your other humans and with the source of your creator and these divine rules and what we're supposed to do. And Crowley was just an utter failure, and I can even read some of the quotes from Crowley himself, where he says to worship people with fire and blood. Here's a quote from the Book of the Law, which one of his books that he claims was dictated to him by a demon that had possessed his wife. And, where you look at the teachings of Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha, and they're going to be, treat your neighbor like yourself, don't steal, be a good person. And here's a teaching from Aleister Crowley, page 41 of the Book of the Law. Damn them who pity, kill and torture, spare them not. The best blood is the blood of the moon, and then the fresh blood of a child, and last that of the beast. Worship me with fire and blood and swords and spears. He's just an utter evil person that taught completely contradictory philosophies to the code of morality that humanity should live by.
No, I couldn't agree more, and it just disgusts me whenever I, turn on the BBC or the Discovery Channel, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, Crowley's praises, and he's so misunderstood, and his study of Lucifer was really the study of technology, and he's a great man, and he was a real Renaissance man, and we should all follow him. It's more than perverse. Now, your new book is entitled The Illuminati, Facts and Fiction. And the thing is that the Illuminati is about to take center stage in the mainstream consciousness with this new film, Angels and Demons, based on the prequel till the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. And we discussed that a little bit on my show. But why don't you go over it for the Alex Jones listeners?
Yeah, the movie breaks next week starring Tom Hanks. And it's not just an ordinary film about the Illuminati. It's based on Dan Brown's novel, The Angels and Demons, who is the author of the very popular Da Vinci Code, which has sold over 60 million copies as of several years ago. And as everybody probably knows, the Da Vinci Code gives this conspiracy theory that Jesus had a family and that the secret societies are hiding that family from the evil Catholic Church, who has their secret societies that are tracking down the family members and killing them. And it was a very, very controversial book. When the movie came out, it was just the talk of the dinner table around the world. Angels and Demons is the prequel to that. The book was published in 2000, just a few years before Angels and Demons. And it's about the Illuminati plotting to blow up Vatican City in Rome with an antimatter bomb as a retribution for them allegedly arresting their members back in the past. And it's a fascinating read. I don't really read fictional books, but I knew that this was going to be huge, and I had to get up to speed on it. So I did read the book, and what we can do is go through some of the blatant lies and disinformation that Brown mixes in, because what's interesting about that book is that he mixes in facts and fiction, and in the beginning of the book, just like in the Da Vinci Code, he says that the Illuminati's real, that this book is based on facts, just the story is a fictional story about this man that is a Harvard teacher and a expert in the Illuminati and symbology, so religious symbols. And so the story leads you to believe that the Illuminati has been secretly continuing to exist and now is going to blow up Vatican City, and Tom Hanks needs to go and save the Vatican from this huge explosion. And the Vatican's they're voting in a new pope, and so it's the center stage of the world, and everybody's watching it, and it's this big ordeal of him trying to track down the antimatter from the Illuminati. But what's interesting is that Dan Brown, in the book, mixes in actual historical Illuminati references and quotes, and mentions that they were had infiltrated the Masons and became a society within the Masons. Mentions the popular internet websites for searching for the Illuminati in the book. One of his characters claims that he did a search on Google for the Illuminati, and thousands of results came, and he noticed that people still believe that the Illuminati exists. He mixes in actual quotes from, I think, Winston Churchill, and talks about the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, and does blend in some interesting, real information with the story. What he gets wrong is that he makes the Illuminati out to seem like they're the good guys, except that they're now just going to be evil and blow up the Vatican. But the version that Dan Brown presents is that the Illuminati was a group of scientists, not a political group, a group of scientists. And he even gets the date wrong because he places them way, way earlier. The original Illuminati founded in the 1700s, but Angels and Demons revolves around the famous artist, sculptor Bernini, Galileo. Galileo was the man that popularized heliocentrism, which is the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun and not vice versa, as the Church taught, the Catholic Church taught. So Dan Brown says that Copernicus, that Giovanni, Bernini, that Galileo, they were all in the Illuminati, and it was just a group of scientists, and then the Catholic Church was pursuing them and torturing them and killing scientists, including Copernicus. That's what Dan Brown says, which did not happen. Dan Brown utterly created that fiction. Copernicus died when he was 70 years old in the 1500s, which is quite an old age. So he gives this false representation that the poor scientists were persecuted by the Catholic Church, which were persecuting people and were very corrupt and very evil and non-Christian, and continue to give Christians a bad name for the Inquisition and the activities that they were involved in. But it's fascinating to see a couple other instances that he mixes in, that he claims are fact, that are just clearly fraud. He mentions that the Illuminati had these ambigram brands, and that they were branding people with this iron brand, sort of like you brand a cattle in retribution for the Vatican branding the cross on heretics, which I don't think actually happened. He mentions a couple other interesting facets, that the Bilderberg Group financed the Illuminati. So he mentions the Bilderberg Group, the Freemasons, the dollar bill symbology, architecture symbols, and all this interesting, somewhat factual information. And then later, what I'll get into is some of the interesting ties that Dan Brown himself has to the Illuminati, very, very fascinating connections that he himself has and even continues to have along with his publisher.
Yeah, and when the masses see this, because really they don't read anymore unless Oprah tells them to, or it's a big smash hit like the Da Vinci Code, so the majority of people really haven't read Angels and Demons, they're going to be like, oh, you saw that movie whenever you talk about, the New World Order or the Illuminati. Oh, you saw that movie. Yeah, they're not real. That's just a movie. And you're just like, well, actually, no, the Illuminati did exist, and they still do really exist in other incantations, and they've, openly stated in their documents that they'll just go by another name. And really saying that the Bilderberg Group is funding the Illuminati, it's vice versa. It's the people at the top that use the Bilderberg Group, that use the CFR, that use the Bohemian Grove, that use Skull and Bones as a means to an end. And this is a do as thou wilt mentality. Why don't you talk about that, the do as thou wilt mentality of these people?
The do as thou wilt